how do you make a tangible, actionable plan for the planet? First, we started looking at a number. 173,000 terawatt hours per year. That's the total energy that humanity spends in 1 year. Over the last 200 years, we've been getting our energy from essentially burning wood. And then we discover fossil fuels. We discover coal, oil, and gas. And that increases the amount of energy available to us. And this sort of incredible resource has massively increased prosperity and wealth throughout the globe, but it has also led to the emission of 50 billion tons of CO2 every year.
You all know this, right? This is why you're all here. You all know this, how we contribute as an industry the largest amount of greenhouse gas emissions from the built environment.
The built environment today contributes roughly 40% of the full CO2 emissions.
Recognizing that the built world is 40% of all carbon emissions, for me, wasn't a light bulb, it was a fucking sledgehammer.
If we're 40% of the impact of carbon, or 70% in cities, that's 4 out of 10 species that have collapsed, that we take responsibility for. That's 4 out of 10 climate migrants that live with us. And that's 4 out of 10 climate deaths that live with us.
But this is just the existing floor plate. Over the next 28 years, it's estimated that we have to build roughly 50% of everything that's ever been built. If we do not find a way to ensure this becomes part of the solution rather than the problem, then it does not matter that we all drive Teslas or eat Memphis meat.
It's got to start here and spread throughout the entire world.
I mean, this has to become part of the solution.
My commitment is to lead as best I can this mission to decarbonize the built world.
To decarbonize the built world.
Decarbonization in the built world. Decarbonize real estate.
Decarbonization of the built world.
Trying to build a better built world. And decarbonizing that world is the very definition of better.
This is such a treat for me because I never get to do this shit. It's like I go to another city and it's like, you get in and you get out. Look at this guy on his bike going to work. It's all decked out, looks immaculate. Look at him, that is something else. Bikes, 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 bikes. Look, I'm jaywalking. Let's go here and get a cab. It's good, it's my first time in Copenhagen. You've lived here your whole life?
Yeah, I raised and born here.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you love most about Copenhagen?
I think it's okay.
Just okay, not great?
No, it's okay, yeah.
We're sightseeing. We're looking at some sustainable buildings and what have you in Copenhagen. That's what we're trying to find. Day one, CREtech Climate Summit in Copenhagen. Really, really excited about the next 2 days.
When Michael announced last year at CREtech London that he was launching CREtech Climate, I don't think any of us were surprised. If you know Michael, then you know the only thing he is more passionate about than tequila is climate change. I'm sure I don't need to tell you all what an important role each and every one of you have to play by being here today, whether it's through investment or innovation, or in my case, through communication. On which note, I'm going to hand over to the man who's very much leading that conversation, Michael Beckerman.
Thank you, Todd. Oh my God. Good morning, good morning. I could tell everybody's so serious about this topic because you all showed up at 8 o'clock on the dot. I have no doubt that the real estate industry contributes so much good to the world. It's great structures, great cities, great environments for living, working, shopping. So it's an industry that I absolutely love. But recently, I discovered this extraordinary fact that I had no idea. And it was this awakening for me. If I don't know it, well then, I bet you most of the industry doesn't know it either. We've got to go out from this event and communicate this far and wide throughout the entire built environment. The whole purpose of what we're trying to do here is learn from each and every one of you. So we've got to hear your voices. It's been a long journey to get here to Copenhagen, and I couldn't be more proud and more thrilled to be amongst you all. So thank you so much for coming.
Within the term PropTech, it's implied that a lot of that is around property, but it really means everything from financing through to investing into running, operating, building, developing, basically properties, the places we live, work and play.
I'm the co-founder and CEO of Sealed. We make it easy and affordable for people to decarbonize their homes.
Ventron is a capital group that invests in PropTech and sustainable PropTech specifically.
We are the holistic building experience platform that helps to convert a building to a more digital building.
I'm the CEO and founder of Aisti, and our business is acoustic tiles, which are carbon negative.
We have a web-based application that's a suite of software for helping architects and engineers and contractors and building owners make better decisions around comprehensively designing and constructing a building.
Well, I worked in climate technology since 2015. But 5 years prior joining Reach and Second Century Ventures, I was a clean tech founder. So I'm eating, living and breathing clean technology. It makes sense commercially. It made sense socially.
Modulous is basically an enabler. So we have a digital tool and we have a physical tool. So a little bit like the software and the hardware, and we actually combine the two. And we use the digital tool to manage a process or the building process from the very beginning, from the design of a building to over procurement of components that you need to actually build that building to delivery of the building. And we use our physical kit of parts to inform the digital process, because if when we combine the two, we actually can also make statements about cost and program that actually you need to actually build this building.
Key here is that because the built environment is not something that's being created in the moment, right? We're talking about physical elements, we're talking about bricks and wood and concrete and so on. And we're actually talking about, in large parts, a challenge about dealing with existing infrastructure. We can't just basically wipe away the city, so to speak, and then just put something new that's sustainable.
One of the big problems there has been the industry's approach to wanting to work with new things.
It is very difficult to pilot and test technology in these huge portfolios.
Real estate and technology historically have not spoken the same language.
It's always been this approach where we've had to go, if we need to do it, we need to do it at large scale, full portfolio, all this sort of stuff.
The startups work really fast, and they don't understand going slow. But if your customer's not ready to move that fast, then you really need to figure out how do you meet in the middle. Moving fast and breaking things works in some industries, but you can't have your buildings fall down.
Sector players are they're so insular, aren't they? They won't share information. They won't share data. They won't collaborate.
In the built world, it's not a norm.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's fragmented.
Very much so, siloed. The communication isn't there.
We've got to get away from that because, frankly, the answer is systematically different.
And by this word tenant, I also realized it's so funny. Words, they don't come about randomly. So it's so telling that in this industry, people call them tenants rather than customers.
Capital currently is operated under an extractive model. You put $1 in, you try to take as much out. In that extraction model, you leave a series of holes, environmental holes, social holes, cultural holes.
When it came to talking about solutions, I don't want to speak for everybody on the table, but I felt a bit overwhelmed. Oh God, it is an overwhelming thing, and you have to really focus on what it is that you want to achieve and what the problem is.
Whose responsibility is it to start to drive, not innovation per se, but what those goals are? Is it the end user? Is it the economic buyer? Is it regulation? There's a new piece of regulation that's going through consultation around whole life cycle carbon analysis as a requirement for new developments. It's in its infancy, but those that are on the side of progress and innovation are really pushing for that. So there's a vocal group that's really starting to back that. And I think there's a responsibility there by governments and what translates down to local and regional or state governments to really put regulation at the forefront of innovation. And that's very difficult, especially on political cycles, right? Because what we see is we have 5-year political cycles in the UK, and there might be a new regulation or a new green initiative, and as soon as we start to get towards the end of that political cycle, things change again. And so it's very difficult. So unless regulation gets baked in, it's tough. So then we have to rely on the end user and them buying into sustainability and buying into carbon neutrality. And what we're seeing in the UK is almost like the digital natives are also sustainable native, right? Like it's starting to be ingrained into their consciousness that the right thing is not just right for you, but also right for the environment and wider society.
So the only way that we can really ensure that we'll solve this is by working together.
Copenhagen, the cleanest waste-to-energy power plant in the world. The steam coming out of the chimney is actually cleaner than the air of Copenhagen.
We're back to like an experimentation point, which I think has been in a lot of different forms like how Copenhagen has
this interconnectedness with like nature, basically. And it's there's financing options for sustainable projects that are more favorable now.
You think that people control Washington and everything allow a carbon tax?
That's what I mean. Like you're never gonna get a carbon tax in the U.S.
So much of the taxing is sort of stuck at the federal level, where you don't actually get the proper flows from federal to provincial to municipal.
What we see is that, like, for them, it's really hard to know the OP of their buildings, like which building is underperforming, which is the worst, where to focus.
Somewhat, right? Well, at least then it's like becomes a conversation around, well, like priorities.
How is it that BP has a higher ESG rating than Tesla?
At real estate conferences, to your point, biggest obstacle we always talk about is lack of data.
I think that they know about it, the market needs to be audacious in order for that shift to sort of take place.
And things are sticky as well, and this idea that green buildings cost whatever, 10% more. I mean, that might have been true 15 years ago or 20 years ago, but it's changed. And like, how do we change that?
That's it? This is it? Where's the roof? Oh, there it is. Oh, we've got to get up there. Come on. Everything we've been doing at CREtech has been great, and I feel like it was the foundation that's going to let me have the platform and the audience to really focus on what I believe my life's mission is, which is decarbonization of this whole entire built world. I know it's not just about me, and I know one person can only do so much, but if everybody did whatever they could, create an army of change agents that will inspire the rest of the world. That's what I'm trying to do here in Copenhagen, Create that spark that hopefully just ignites and galvanizes the industry and creates this movement.
This is the Danish word for design, formgivning. It literally means form giving. It means that as architects and as human beings, we have the power to give form to the future. We have the possibility to imagine and give form to the world we would like to live in.
This is the biggest challenge of our generation. And because business in the end is about solving problems, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because solving problems is a superior business model.
Over 120 countries now committing to net zero by 2050. For the real estate sector, it's no longer a nice to have, it's a must have in order to remain compliant and competitive.
It's a design challenge, and the only way that you're going to beat the ineffective status quo is by providing an alternative that is simply more desirable and better.
We need to do this. There is really no other way. We don't look at it as a cost, we look at it as an investment. And we look at it as an investment because it's going to generate data, it's going to generate learnings, and that has value, and we can use that value to repurpose it into something that can create new value for ourselves and others.
I don't think anyone has a silver bullet right now, but I think one of the things that we believe is that with sustainability and digitization of real estate, collaboration is the way forward, because we don't all need to fail at the same thing. We need to learn from the success of our partners so that we can solve this problem. It's too big for one developer, one consultant to solve on their own.
It's events like this where we can actually sit and have meaningful discussions. And not just meaningful discussions, meaningful actions afterwards, and that's the bit that's key. You can't just keep discussing, we actually have to have the actions that follow through and the collaborations that follow through that allow us to get there. So that's fundamentally why we're here.
Often you are able to solve your own problems through hearing how other people solve theirs, and even if it's not even, completely analogous.
I was really excited to hear that there was a conference focused on climate change in the built environment, because I think a lot of people don't know that it's 40% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and there just has not been enough of a spotlight shown on the global real estate industry.
It is a challenge. It really takes great leadership. Nowadays we have a lot of why, why. We need more how, but the who is so important.
We can talk about innovation, digitalization, change management, all these kind of things, but it's all about the people that you work with. What we see most of the time is that organizations that start to move, normally it comes from some people that truly believe that we need to do it differently.
This committed group of people here can really drive the change, because they are the traditional industry, they are the investors, they're the technology startups. We have everything we need in place already.
There are a lot of very interesting people here who do a lot of different things, and our intention is always to find people to do something together with. So we don't really see competitors, we see collaborators, right? So we like to meet people in this space and see how their approaches could inform our approaches or our things or our ways of doing things, or if we can work with them together to get even to better products or can complete this whole journey.
And I was really happy to see all kind of stakeholders really pushing the message out there that they also truly believe that we need to move and we can do something as an industry.
Ecosystem for me is a lot, right? It's not about what is outside, but it's, the ecosystem is here very much. It's CREtech, it's the ecosystem of people who care.
It's a huge opportunity. If you can look at it that way, look at it as an investment opportunity, then this is going to be your competitive advantage. This is where we talk about making impact investments and generating returns from that investments ahead of everyone else.
It's like we're heading towards the waterfall and everyone's got a paddle. It's like, everybody paddle, if you got a small paddle, do your little thing. If you got a big one, use that one too, but don't not paddle.
So I think we're at that point where with the wave of energy we've had, combined with this kind of new injection of thought from everywhere, inside the industry, outside the industry, I think we're there. And for us at Modulous, because at our core we started from a space of responsible design, we want to be in those discussions. We want to figure out how we can help. We want to figure out how we can integrate other people's tools into ours. For us, it's about collaboration. We don't think it's about kind of hiding what we do and then having this thing that creates a great product. We want to talk about it. We want to figure out how other people are doing some amazing things. We want to share what we're doing, because it is through collaboration that we'll figure this out.
We came for this. We're the adults, right?
We have the positions of responsibility now. We chose this life and this lifetime to be doing what we're doing now. And so if this is it, then are we doing it right?
Just finished the conference in Copenhagen. It was a game changer for me. I mean, just being in this city, seeing that there is a better way. There's a better way to live, and there's a better way to build, and in a more inclusive, sustainable manner. I feel exhausted, overwhelmed, but inspired and validated that I'm on the right track. It's going to be harder than I probably ever imagined, because I understand the scale of the problem, because we talked a lot about that at the conference. But then I met people who were creating the solutions and putting them to work, focusing on sustainability in the built world. There's far easier ways to make money and scale at CREtech, but this is the right thing to do. As long as I'm alive and as long as I'm running CREtech, I'm always going to be guided by the right thing to do for people and humanity and the planet.
It's important to teach younger children to help clean up the earth and just like make it better.
It's the future. It's undeniable.
Lastly, just to sort of ask, what is really the purpose or the use of making a plan for the planet? And I think the answer is in the way that it has influenced my own organization, and it has influenced the organizations and the thinking of the organizations that we work with, that whenever we have to make a choice or take an action for our future, we can do it with an understanding of the bigger picture. And therefore, I do think that even though it feels, arrogant or megalomaniacal to dare to address things at a planetary scale, I actually think that we have the possibility, but actually the responsibility to dare to give form to a plan for the planet.